Hey there, my name is Stacie. It's awesome to have you here. Today I want to talk about anxious feelings and how yoga can help to reduce some of those anxious feelings with just five simple poses and why these particular five ones do such an amazing job at clearing out some of that mental chatter that we have that can take us down a train to nowhere land. So, we're going to dive right in. We're going to do all five of these in a seated position. And then I will have another video that I will link below that will be five yoga poses, same shapes on the floor. So we're going to do the seated ones here. So if you prefer to stay in a chair or if you're limited to a chair, it's fine. We're going to be able to get into these. These are my five favorites for anxious feelings. So the first shape that I want you to come to. You'll need two chairs for this. So get a sofa, sit in front of a sofa or an ottoman, but you'll need two different chairs, one to sit on and one to use as support. The first pose is going to be a forward fold. Now, forward fold is designed to reset the nervous system, calm the mind, calm the body. And I want you to think about each shape that we come to, all five of these, staying in them for 5 to 6 breaths. We won't be doing it here in this demonstration, but I just want you to know that when you practice these five, you'll remember them in no time to stay at least 5 to 6 breaths. First one, forward fold. Now I'm just going to sit nice and tall. My cheeks are close to the very edge of the chair, and I'm simply going to drape my body over my legs and let my arms just hang. Now my head is just hanging. I've got my chin tucked. I'm just sort of dangling. Now, I like to think of a forward fold, sort of letting the water roll off your back and letting any tension, any worries, just simply letting go. Now, your fingertips might reach the floor, they might not. It's okay either way. And then as you stay in the fold for 5 to 6 breaths, you'll notice that the head becomes very heavy. And as we do this shape and we round our spine, we're actually supporting our adrenal glands. Now, our adrenals gives that cortisol, that fight or flight, shoots that hormone into the body and says, hey, 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 be on alert. Now, when we come into a forward fold, we're actually soothing the adrenals and we're soothing that response state in our brain that says, come out swinging. So we want to come into forward folds whenever we start to feel that anxiety starting to rise, just letting the body drape and simply hanging 5 to 6 breaths minimum. Okay. So that's my first favorite. My second favorite is legs up the wall. Now, we're not going to be able to put legs up the wall from a seated position, but I can show you how to do this in a chair. I have a bolster. You can have a bed pillow. You can have a pillow from your sofa, any sort of cushion, but I like to have these bolsters. I'm going to put the bolster horizontal on the chair in front of me. And I'm going to pick up my legs. I'm going to slide them through the back of the chair. And I'm going to scoot my cheeks close to the edge. And then I'm going to recline. Just hang out. Open up the arms, turn the palms away from me, which is a very open gesture, inviting in peacefulness. Now, I certainly don't want to let my head fall all the way back. So I'm just going to keep my head in neutral, maybe close my eyes, maybe look out my beautiful window and see my garden. It's really important to remember when we're coming into these poses to let the breath become extra full. And especially that exhale, we want to fully, and don't be afraid to make noise when you're breathing, like really sigh out the burdens, the worries, the uncertainties, all of the what ifs that we tend to ramp up when we're feeling anxious, which is always future based, right? Take a breath. Big exhale and simply let the body be still. Now, my ankles are sort of rolled open, knees are rolled open. I'm just really hanging out here. This gives the same benefit as if my legs were up the wall in a more traditional style. All right, the third one is cat and cow. This is a series of postures to link together that you see all the time in yoga, but in this particular purpose where we're trying to reduce our anxious feelings, reduce some of those thoughts that take us that way, we're going to come into cat and cow in a very slow and methodical way. I often say it's like we're moving through honey. I want you to think of that really slow motion. Now, think about this. When you're holding an infant and you're just rocking that sweet little thing, okay, so we're calming the nervous system. We're not shaking the baby back and forth trying to calm it. We're rhythmic, okay? So when we're thinking about calming the body, calming the mind, we're going to be rhythmic. I also like to think of it as watching the ocean roll in and watching the ocean roll out. That it's not unless it's a hurricane, but in that sweet, or the mountain lake with it lapping against the edge, just that soft current. That's what we're going to create in our body. So hold your hands onto your knees, nice tall spine, sitting again on the edge of the seat. I'm going to pull my belly in and round my spine. Oh, that would be your exhale. All right, just hold here, breathe. And remember the visualization of the water, the ocean, the lake, the rocking of the baby. Here we go. Push the belly forward, draw a line with your nose to the sky, lift your chin, you're breathing in. Exhale, round your spine. Let the ocean roll out. Inhale, belly goes forward, nose goes up, chin follows. Exhale, round your spine. Feel that rhythm. Try it again. Inhale, lift. Exhale, round. And again, you would come to this 5 to 6 times, maybe even 10 to 15 if you really start to feel that rhythmic flow of your breath, sending messages to the brain, sending messages to the body. Calm. That's what we want. All right, child's pose. Maybe you've seen it in a traditional practice. I'm going to show you how to do child's pose in a chair. You're going to bring that chair a little bit closer to you. Now, you can certainly keep your knees together as if you were in child's pose on the floor where you spill over. Now, for me, I prefer either floor or chair to have my legs wide. So I'm going to open up my legs, externally rotating my hips a bit. I'm going to bring the chair a little bit closer. Now, I have a block. I also have my pillow. So after I'm here 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 breaths, I may be able to lose the block and just place my head on the pillow. But the most important thing to remember when we're coming into child's pose, specifically when we're feeling anxious, is to make sure that there is pressure on the forehead, pressure on the space between the brows. We want to give that proprioceptive input of calm. When we push here, we're actually quieting down the thought center in our brain, and we're coming into a more of a internal knowing, not thinking, but internal knowing. And it's really important to remember that when our thoughts start to get really cluttered, we can simply stop what we're doing, place our hands on our forehead, close our eyes, and take a few breaths, and the thoughts will dissipate. They will settle to the bottom. So we'll talk about that when we get there. So child's pose. Place the block on the pillow. You will spill over your legs. Maybe the forearms come to the pillow. Maybe you turn the block, but you press your forehead into the block. You can also stack 2 of your fists, one on top of each other. Place that on the pillow or the block. And you simply breathe. Okay, eyes will close. Putting pressure between the brow sends a signal to the brain to stop thinking. To stop thinking. When we stop thinking, we start knowing. I like to think of this particular shape, this idea of stopping the thinking, as if our mind was this beautiful vase of water, and the anxious thoughts get poured into the vase in the form of sand. That beautiful clear water is now muddy. It's a mess.
We can't have any clarity when it's mud. But if we set the vase down and we're still and we leave it alone, the sand will eventually sink to the bottom and the water becomes clear again. So pushing against the forehead, becoming silent, still, and quiet allows those anxious thoughts to settle back down. And then there's clarity, which is the knowing. Okay, we have that internal knowing. We can't access it when our mind's filled with thoughts. All right, the final pose for anxiety and anxious feelings, anxious thoughts is a simple twist. Now, when you think about having a towel in your kitchen and it's filled with dirty dishwater, or maybe you had to wipe up a mess, you take the towel filled with the mess and you put it into the sink and you wring it out. And what happens is the mess leaves the towel, becomes cleaner again. So when we think of in terms of how much anxiety we have going on in our head, coming into the body, coming into the places in our body like our adrenals where our stress hormones get riled up because we're having all these thoughts, we can really start to impact our spine, our internal organs, and all of that simply by thinking too much. So we're going to clean out the internal organs in the spine by coming to a twist. Now I'm just sitting sideways on my chair. You can turn your chair, or you can do it the way that I'm sitting. It doesn't matter. But you're going to sit tall through the spine. Take your left hand across the body to the right leg. Bring your right hand behind you. Now I'm going to grab the bottom of the seat of the chair, provide a little torque. Take a breath, and then spin your torso to the right. Let your eyes follow. You'll be here for 5 to 6 breaths. Every time you inhale, you'll get long. Every time you exhale, you will spin a little deeper. Be thinking about the towel. Inhale and exhale. Now you might find a little mantra. Breathing in, I am. Breathing out, calm. Breathing in, I am. Breathing out, calm. And then as you complete, when your body knows it's done, you come back to center. All the fresh blood floods into those organs, pushes out the yucky stuff, really gives our body a sense of vigoration and clean. Like it's just a great practice to do. It's also great when we want to literally detox ourselves from negative thinking coming into a twist, or if we ate bad foods for a week and we just went on vacation, we feel like we need a little detox, we do a lot of twists and that gets rid of some of the yucky foods that we had. So you would do the other side. So the right hand would come to the left knee, left hand would come behind, left shoulder goes behind. Take a breath, and then you'll spin the torso to the left. And remembering that mantra, maybe there's something that you can say to yourself that will help you. I am calm. I am safe. I am at ease. I am peace. And then you would take 5 or 6 breaths and come back around. Now, these 5 poses are simple to remember. We basically have 2 forward folds. One is with the dangle, one is child's pose. We have the rhythmic motion of cat and cow. We have the stillness of legs up the wall or legs up the chair. And then we come into the twist to just cleanse everything. And to finish your practice, what you don't want to do is put your supplies away and throw your yoga block in a basket and fold your chair real quick. You want to move with intention, move out of your practice back into your reality in a way that is calm and peaceful. You could do this on your lunch hour. You could take 5 minutes before you go into work. Maybe you drop the kids off at school and you take 5 minutes for yourself. You can get through these 5 poses fairly quickly. Forward fold, legs up, child's pose, cat and cow, rhythm, and then twist. So put them in any order that makes sense to you. That's just the order that I like to practice them. I like to finish with a twist because it gives me a little boost for the rest of my day. So be sure to watch another video, the next one coming up, that is the 5 same poses, but we're going to do it on the floor. Now, if you're unable to get on the floor, you can enjoy these 5 in a chair. You can also do
the 5 on the floor in a bed. If you choose to just do it in the bed, you can absolutely do it in a bed. So thanks for hanging out with me, and be sure to keep watching because I have a whole series coming up: yoga for sleep, yoga for tension in the neck, yoga for shoulders, yoga for back pain, yoga for knee pain, yoga for motivation. There's many ways that we can utilize this beautiful practice to enhance the physical form, but also get into that internal drive and that emotional body that we all have. So stay tuned for that. Be sure to watch, subscribe, all the things, share with family members and friends. I appreciate you, and I will see you real soon. Bye.